If you're a student looking to land a grad role before you even graduate, then this video is exactly for you. I'm going to walk you through every step of the application process, the same process that landed me a Big 4 offer in less than 13 applications. I'm going to go everything you need from the CV to cover letters, the one-to-one interviews, the numerical tests, the assessment centers. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly how to position yourself for success. So there's 5 steps to this, like I said, and the first step is your CV, okay? We're going to go over how to make your CV a standout CV. And for the CV, there's around 4 steps that you need to know over here. So the first step of your CV is having your personal details. And what do I mean by this? Look, you want to make sure you're including your name, your email, your phone number, and your LinkedIn URL. LinkedIn URLs are so important in today's day and age because everyone and everything has a digital footprint, okay? And you want to make sure that you're keeping it as clean and professional as you possibly can. This one's not too overcomplicated, it's pretty simple. Personal details are step number 1, okay? The second step you want to do is your education, right? In your education, obviously you want to list out your university, your degree, your expected graduation date, and this is the key part that most people miss out on. You want to include key modules that align with the job description that you're applying for, okay? And the reason you do this is because when you're actually going through the application process and submitting your CV, there's something called ATS, which is Applicant Tracking Systems. And what this does is kind of like an AI that essentially scans your CV before a recruiter even sees it, and it'll scan and look for keywords that are used from the job description to determine if you have the relevant experience or not, okay? So make sure you include that in your education section. The bulk of this, however, will matter in your experience section. And there's loads of mistakes that candidates make in this section of the CV. Look, I did a degree in biomedical sciences and I now work in tech consulting. I had no internships, I had no work experience and no technical skills in the industry I was applying for, aka tech consulting. So the thing you need to realize is even if you have no work experience, it's imperative that you frame yourself in a way that is desirable to the employer and what they're looking for, right? So just reflect for a second. Look at any internships you've done, any work experience, part-time jobs, relevant work, any extracurriculars, any dissertations you've done, any modules you've done in university, and look at them as a whole. Now what I want you to do is I want you to have a look at the job description and check specifically what they want, okay? Let's say it's for a tech consulting role. They want to see interpersonal skills, communication, some certifications. What you can do is extract this information from the job description and tie it into your CV and highlight these things in your experience section, okay? So let's say you worked in retail and you're applying for a consulting role. You can highlight the times you had strong interpersonal and communication skills because again, this is exactly what they're looking for in the job description, okay? Another thing is, don't write massive paragraphs. Use bullet points, but use action verbs to describe what you did, okay? Don't just list out, oh, my responsibilities were to talk to customers. That's not showing them any real quantifiable results. It's not showing them the impact you actually made, okay? So use action verbs, use words like developed, use words like coordinated, use words like achieved, because all of these, they actually show impact, okay? And at the end of each of those things, you want to say how you influence the outcome. So let's go back to the example of talking to customers. Let's say your interpersonal skills increased sales by 40%, okay? That is a real, tangible, quantifiable result that they can see the value that you're providing and bringing to the table, okay? Another example saying, instead of saying, oh, I worked at a cashier, okay? You can say, I managed daily cash transactions for over 100 customers, which ensured accuracy and efficiency, okay? That is literally showing them the real quantifiable results that you provided. Okay, so the fourth and final part that comes after this is actually skills and certifications, which is obviously an imperative part of your whole CV. And what you need to do is, when you're talking about your skills and certifications, most people, you know, they just list out their skills like team leader, problem solving, analytical skills, and this is not that effective. And the reason for this is because not only is it not showing them what your level of proficiency is, it's not even showing them what you've learned and what your key takeaways are, okay? So for every certification you list, write a sentence that shows exactly what key takeaway and what you've learned from it and how it's improved your overall skills as a result, right? So add something, or you know, this certification has improved my leadership skills, or it's improved my teamwork skills. You want to make sure that you're grouping them according to proficiency levels, okay? So beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And according to beginner, look, you could be a beginner in Google Analytics, or you could be intermediate in Google Garage, or you could be advanced in Python programming. But group all your skills like this because it makes it so clear how good you are at these, and it'll make it really easy for the recruiter to scan. In some job descriptions, for example, it tells you, oh, you need to be proficient in Python programming. So obviously when it scans your CV and you've written proficiency, high proficiency, advanced proficiency in Python, automatically it's going to work out, okay? Same with the certifications, right? Write out one sentence underneath of one key takeaway that you have, one key takeaway that highlights everything, including your transferable skills and what you've taken away and what's improved as a result of this. So when it comes to cover letters aren't just a formality, okay? It's your chance to actually connect with the recruiter and show them exactly what you're saying in your CV is 100% accurate and makes you a standout candidate. So there's 3 main points you need to understand when it comes to the cover letter. And the first part is the opening, okay? The opening, in other words, is the opening paragraph. And essentially in this, you want to explain why you're excited about the role and their company, okay? You want to mention something specific about their missions or any recent projects that's been conducted, okay? So for example, I'm drawn to whatever the company's name is. Commitment to innovation as demonstrated by your recent launch of X or X program, X product, X service, okay? When you're highlighting these in the opening paragraph, it immediately shows why you're enthusiastic about the role, which is so crucial when it comes to securing a role, okay? Like I said in the first part of this, you want to make sure you're using metrics. So instead of saying, oh, I'm good at teamwork, which is obviously a big mistake, it's not really showing any value, you want to say, you collaborated with a team of 5 to deliver a project that increased client engagement by 20%. This is immediately impactful, okay? And this shows immediately why you're a good fit for the role. Next is the closing paragraph. In the closing paragraph, essentially what you want to do is tie together the first 2 paragraphs and reaffirm your interest and to express enthusiasm for the role. You want to end it with a sentence like this. Thank you for considering my application. I look forward to the opportunity to discuss how I can contribute to your team. That's exactly what you want to do, okay? So the 2 main questions you want to answer, why this company, why this role, and how you tie into it, how and the value you can bring to the table, okay? That is all you need to know when it comes to the cover letter. It's nothing overcomplicated. Just structure your paragraphs like this and you'll be okay. Remember, it doesn't have to be 2,000 words, okay? 3/4 of a page is enough, 1 page is enough. It does not need to be overcomplicated. Every single big company you apply for, because they're getting thousands and thousands of applicants, they are undoubtedly going to have 3 key components that you need to master. And I'm going to break them down for you step by step, okay? So the first one that you will encounter is something called numerical reasoning. So numerical reasoning, it's kind of like basic arithmetic, basic maths, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, percentages, ratios. It tests all of these, and essentially what you have to do is you have to get really good at interpreting graphs, percentages, and ratios. And what I say to every single student that talks to me and who I coach is that it comes down to 2 things. They're only looking for 2 key things here. They're looking for speed and they're looking for accuracy. And with numerical, you need to realize they are not testing it in an overcomplicated way. They are simply just testing your ability to extract data from a whole waffle of data. Use platforms like Job Test Prep. And what these will do is that the more you practice, the better you'll get. And what you need to realize when it comes to practicing these numerical questions, at the end of the day, it comes down to, when you're practicing, you want to make sure that you're focusing on accuracy first. Focus on the accuracy, and then the speed will naturally come after. But you need to realize, look, you're not just going to be able to practice for 3 days before the test and get through. No, it'll take you a few weeks to a few months to become proficient. So you need to make sure you're building up to it, working towards it, and practicing as much as you can, because this is the only way you'll be able to pass a numerical test, okay? Focus on speed, focus on accuracy, and that's all they're looking for. The next thing we're going to talk about is verbal reasoning, okay? Verbal reasoning is basically reading comprehension. So what they're going to do, typically, they'll give you a passage or they'll give you a sentence, and based on that, they'll give you multiple choices on the side, and they'll tell you to pick the right answer based on the passage. These can be inferences, these can be assumptions that you have to make. It'll be true, false questions. It'll ask you whether something is true, whether something is false, or whether you can't tell. Okay. The key here is that you need to learn to analyze passages and answer questions quickly, okay? When it comes to these big passages, it's very easy to get overwhelmed with the amount of information you're given. And these questions are given to you so you can extract data like this, okay? And pick up the key components. So, the biggest mistake most candidates make is that when they're presented the passage or the paragraph, they spend time reading through each line one by one by one. And they don't know this, but this is wasting so much time, okay? It's already cut into half the time. So what I would advise, and personally what I did, I read the question first, I read the statement first, and then, based on what they were asking in the question or statement, I quickly scanned the paragraph to see exactly what they were asking for and what was in there. So let's say one of the questions was, oh, what year did this war happen? It's asking for a year. So you'd scan the passage looking for a number, right? Like 1852 or 1959, okay? Any one of those numbers. You can read the question first, and this will make the whole process so much more streamlined and easier, okay? You need to be able to analyze passages and answer questions very, very quickly. So this is exactly what verbal reasoning is these are the key tips I'd give for verbal reasoning, okay? The next one are the situational judgment tests. So the situational judgment tests. The situational judgment tests, they focus on how you react in certain scenarios. It's going to give you a whole list of scenarios, and it's going to evaluate how you respond to these. So for example, the passage might give you an example of a scenario where there's this girl called Sally, and she's in an argument with Tom, and they try to bring you in the middle of the argument. Whose side are you going to take, and how do you deal with this? My biggest tip for any student who does this is to make the whole process easier. This varies from company to company, by the way. Depending on what company the assessment is for, go on their company website, look at their About Us page, look at their portal, look at their core values, and based on their core values, you want to make sure that you're aligning your answers with their values. So if they say that they prefer teamwork, you're going to say, guess what you're going to say? You're going to say that you prefer teamwork as opposed to working by yourself, if that's what the question is about. Let's say they prefer communication. You're going to align your answer in a way that shows you prefer communication. Or let's say they have a strong emphasis on ethics. You're going to say that, you know what? I have strong moral compass and I have strong ethics. So this is the best way. Go on the company's website, each different company that you've applied for, look at their website, look at their core pillars, look at their values, and based on that, you can answer, and this essentially shows that you're the ideal candidate for the firm or the company because you are embodying their core values and their core pillars. For all of these, you want to make sure that you are doing as many time tests as possible. All you need to understand, most candidates get so overwhelmed when it comes to these. Look, they're not overcomplicated. All you have to do is practice as many times as you can so you can become speedy and you can become accurate. And that's all they're looking for. They're just looking how quickly you can extract data from loads of irrelevant information. And at the end of the day, you need to realize the more you spend time doing these, the quicker you'll be able to identify patterns. And guess what? When you identify the patterns, you'll be able to know and understand what comes up quicker, and you'll be able to tackle these questions with so much ease. So let's move on to the next section, the video interviews. Right, so the next stage of the video interviews, and the video interviews are literally slowly and steadily becoming the norm, okay? And I'm going to tell you exactly how to impress a recruiter. But the thing you need to understand is that these video interviews, they can be very awkward if you don't know how to speak to a camera, okay? So one of the biggest tips I'd give for this is put out your camera. You know, the exact same way I'm talking to a camera right now. Just stick your phone out in front of you and just record an answer. Because when you do this, you'll be able to actually understand how you talk and how you come across to the recruiter. So you can watch yourself back when you're answering the question and you can directly see, oh my God, look, I'm not coming across as confident because I'm shrugging, or I'm sitting there like a tar, or, you know, I'm not using hand language, body language, I'm not using gestures. And all of this is making me appear not confident. So that's exactly what you're going to do. So the first thing is you need to be self-aware and practice as much as you can. Record yourself. That is the number one thing that I would recommend. The second thing you need to do when it comes to the video interviews is that you need to understand that you need to prepare for behavioral based questions, because in the video interviews they typically look at behavioral questions. And what are behavioral questions, Abiha? Behavioral questions test to see how you would respond in a certain situation. It's kind of like situational judgment, right? But in an interview format. So the second stage is behavioral, okay? Behavioral. So these would address questions like, tell me about the time you worked under pressure, or why do you want to work for us? And these are so crucial, because in this, you're essentially telling them how you are going to come across as the ideal candidate. And for this, you want to make sure you're using the STAR method. I have another video where I'm talking about the STAR method and exactly what it is, so make sure you go check that out. It's on my profile. But essentially, STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. And when they tell you, you know, a question like, tell me about the time you had to work under pressure. So you'd address the question by first describing the situation you were in. Then you're going to talk about the task, aka what you had to do. Action is the actions and steps you took to mitigate the difficulty you experienced, and R is the result, aka what end outcome you achieved as a result of going through this whole process, okay? And this leads me on to the third component really nicely. So you need to make sure that you're storytelling. The biggest and most crucial mistake most candidates make when it comes to the interview process is that they spend too much time wasting and listing out their skills and qualifications. They say, oh, I'm good at leadership, I'm good at teamwork, oh, I have 80,000 TikTok followers, or whatever, okay? They are missing a crucial part. Recruiters respectfully could not care less about this. They want to know your thought process. They want to know what guided you to the end result, aka STAR. So the STAR framework sits really nicely with this because it tells them your thought process. It shows them how you handle real life situations. You need to make sure that you are storytelling, because this is exactly what they want to see. They don't want to hear what you did or what you're good at. They want to know how you tell the story, because this shows them exactly how you're going to react in a similar circumstance in the firm if this happens later on, okay? That's the point of these behavioral based questions. So you need to understand the key component to passing these video interviews is storytelling, and that's something a lot of candidates just don't understand. The last part is the delivery. Okay, Abiha, what is the delivery? So the delivery is very important because it shows them how you come across as a candidate and how confident you are in what you're saying. So if you look at the way I'm talking right now, I've obviously been using a lot of hand gestures, I've been projecting my voice, I'm sitting comfortably, but I look confident. I know what I'm talking about. And this is the exact same stance you want to have when you're talking. Another mistake candidates make is that they sit there and they start talking like this. Look, let me give you a demonstration. So they sit there like this, hunchback, they're like, yeah, so I used to work in I was head boy at my school, and this taught me a lot of things. I learned a lot of leadership skills. Look, this is boring. No one wants to see you like that, okay? You need to have range in your tone, because at the end of the day, they want to know who you are as a person. They want to see a bit of your personality shine through. And the way you can show your personality is to express enthusiasm and convey passion. And the only way you can convey passion is by being confident in your delivery and changing the tone and pitch and frequency in which you're speaking in the exact same way I am. Look, you probably wouldn't have gotten to this point of the video if I was talking like this the whole time and I just made it into a really boring lecture like in university. Why do you think you fall asleep in university lectures? Because they don't speak enthusiastically like this. They're sitting there giving you a lecture. It's literally a lecture, right? So this is what you need to understand. Your delivery matters so much, okay? Your delivery can make or break. It doesn't matter how much storytelling you do. If your delivery is not proficient, you're not going to get the offer or proceed to the next stage, okay? So these are the 4 critical components needed for video interviews. So the last step in all of this is mastering the assessment centers. And look, assessment centers are the make or break of your offer, and they really stand out. Most candidates get all the way to the assessment center, but they don't end up securing the offer. And I'm going to talk you through these 3 steps which will ensure that you secure this offer, right? So the first stage in the assessment centers are the one-to-one interviews, okay? The one-to-one interviews are a mixture of behavioral and motivation-based questions. And we covered behavioral questions before, but motivation questions typically ask you questions like why this role, or why this company, or what interests you the most about this firm, okay? And how you're going to answer these is by obviously reading the job description beforehand. So the way to get an upper hand when it comes to the one-to-one interviews is you want to go through and read the job description and also look at the company's values, okay? The job description is going to tell you exactly what skills are there. It's literally like a cheat sheet and a cheat code to securing the offer. Read through the job description and see exactly what skills they're looking for in the candidate and what experience. So when they ask you these questions, you can bring them up directly when it comes to the interview. The second thing is look up the news or research the company. They're literally going to give you news, whether it's a new AI development process or whether they have a new service or a new program. If you're researching this, you can tie it in. So let's say they have a new service offering about sustainability. Guess what? In the interview, you could say, I'm passionate about my course for sustainability. And I noticed that your firm also has released X program in sustainability. And I believe this will make me, and I believe I'll be a great fit in the firm due to my shared passion, right? So this would help drive the process forward. So you want to make sure you're researching the company and you are also demonstrating exactly how you're the perfect candidate for the role by reading up the job description beforehand and looking at all the skills, etc. So the next stage of the group exercises, okay? So the biggest mistake most candidates make is that they think they have to be the loudest in the group in order to get noticed. Look, you're just going to come across as overbearing if you're doing that, okay? You need to demonstrate that you are a good collaborator and you are good at teamwork, not competition, okay? So you need to show that you're an active listener. You can take feedback on board. You can build on other people's ideas. You can contribute your own ideas, but also realize when someone has a better idea than you, okay? The key is to not get defensive. If you propose a good answer and someone else comes back to you saying, oh no, but I think this is a better answer, what you could say, if you genuinely see that their thought is better, you could say, actually, you know what? I agree with this. Let's contribute both of our ideas together and build a stronger idea. Because when the assessor is watching you participate in these group exercises, they don't want someone who's overbearing. They don't want someone who can't take criticism. They want someone who is actively a collaborator and can participate in these teamwork exercises while also showing leadership qualities, okay? Don't be overbearing, be an active listener and demonstrate your leadership by this, because good leaders listen, okay? The difference between a manager and a leader is that a manager just manages people, okay? An example of a good manager is not someone who manages or micromanages people. It's someone who sets a good example and leads the team. And that includes admitting when they are wrong, okay? So that's for the group exercises. And lastly, the most important part, also the case studies in the presentation. Look, some roles require you to prepare a presentation to present to the interviewer, or even take part in some case studies with the group, okay? What you want to do is when you're working through these, you want to analyze the data as speedily and accurately as you can. And I talked about this in the numerical test section, okay? You want to make sure by the end of it, you're giving actionable recommendations. And the interviewer will ask you for answers, but they don't just want your final answer. They want to see your thought process of how you got to the final answer. So make sure you can clearly demonstrate how you got to the end answer, okay? Because they're looking, like I said, for your thought process, not just the final answer. Okay, to tie all of these things together, you want to make sure you're practicing presentations confidently, okay? And you also want to make sure you're answering any follow-up questions. My pro tip is that you need to be yourself, but stay professional, okay? Assessors are looking for how well you fit into their environment as much as your skills, right? Look, landing a job before graduation takes preparation. I did it, okay? But it's 100% achievable if you follow these steps, because these are the exact same steps I used to secure my Big 4 offer in less than 13 applications, okay? If you found this helpful, make sure you drop a comment about what part you struggle with the most, and also subscribe, because I'll be helping you secure your offer, whether it's an internship, a grad scheme, or a degree apprenticeship. So I'll see you in the next video.